Jay Blades became a household name in the UK after he appeared as one of the most beloved stars of the popular show The Repair Shop. His kind smile, calm voice, and incredible craftsmanship with wood made him someone viewers trusted and admired. Every time a damaged or worn-down item was brought into the workshop, Jay approached it with care and patience, restoring not just the object, but often a precious memory tied to it. For years, families tuned in together to watch the gentle magic of the repair shop, and at the heart of it all was Jay. But even someone who seemed so gentle and warm on screen can be hiding a more painful and complicated story behind the scenes. What fans didn't know was that Jay Blades' life away from the camera was beginning to fall apart, and soon, everything he had built would begin to crumble. The Repair Shop first aired in 2017 and quickly became more than just another show on television. It became a comforting routine, something viewers turned to when they needed peace, hope, or a reminder of the good in people. The show's idea was simple. People would bring in objects that meant something deeply personal to them: a broken music box from childhood, a grandfather's old clock, or a family heirloom that had survived generations. These items were usually in terrible shape, damaged from years of use or neglect. But the show's team of expert restorers, including Jay, would work on them with love and skill. When they were done, those items didn't just look new again. They felt full of life and memory. Jay was not just another member of the team. He became the face of the show. His easygoing nature and genuine care for the owners and their stories made people feel safe and valued. Jay didn't just fix things, he listened to the people who brought them in. He asked about their families, their memories, their lives. It felt like he understood how deeply attached people could be to the past, and he treated each item with the same love and importance as its owner. That connection, that empathy, made Jay different. He became a symbol of healing, not just for broken items, but for broken hearts. There were many unforgettable moments on the show, but some truly stood out. One day, an elderly woman brought in a music box that had belonged to her grandmother. The box hadn't played a sound in decades, and its wood was dull and cracked. Jay took his time, carefully polishing the box, fixing the mechanism, and bringing it back to life. When it finally played its tune, the woman burst into tears. So did many viewers. It wasn't just about the music box. It was about hearing a part of her grandmother again, feeling that connection across generations. Jay gave her that moment, and fans never forgot it. But even as Jay became a beloved public figure, he was dealing with private struggles that no one could see. For a long time, things seemed perfect. He was invited to talk shows, featured in interviews, and praised on social media. He had fans who admired not just his work, but his personal story. Jay had talked openly in the past about growing up in tough circumstances and using his love of craft to build a better life. He became a symbol of resilience, someone who had turned pain into purpose. His story gave people hope. However, fame can be difficult. It brings pressure, and sometimes that pressure reveals cracks beneath the surface. As Jay's popularity grew, so did the expectations on him. Every step he took, every word he said, was being watched. His fans expected him to always be kind, always be strong, always be perfect. But no one can live up to that image forever. People started noticing changes. Jay posted less frequently online. Then he announced that he was stepping back from social media after a personal family tragedy. Fans were understanding but concerned. When the new season of The Repair Shop began, viewers were shocked to see that Jay was no longer there. There was no explanation from the BBC. No announcement. Just silence. Fans were left to guess what had happened. Some thought maybe he was taking a break. Others feared something worse. Behind the scenes, things were not okay. Slowly, rumors began to spread. News outlets started digging, and then the truth started coming out. Jay had been accused of engaging in controlling and coercive behavior towards his estranged wife. The accusations were serious. For someone whose career was built on empathy, respect, and kindness, the news came as a shock. People didn't know how to react. Was it possible that the man who brought so much comfort to others was also causing pain in his personal life? Jay had always seemed so open and trustworthy, but now fans were struggling to understand what was real and what wasn't. The BBC quietly removed some of the episodes he had appeared in. Planned public appearances and events were cancelled. The network did not make any official statement, which only added to the confusion and speculation. It felt like the foundation of the show was cracking, and people didn't know what to believe. Jay's fans were divided. Some stood by him, hoping there was more to the story. Others felt betrayed and heartbroken. This was not just about a TV personality, this was someone who had become part of their lives. To see him fall from grace so suddenly and without warning felt like a personal loss. The repair shop had always been a place of trust and warmth, and now that trust had been shaken. The legal case against Jay brought even more pain to the surface. Details of his private life, things no one had known, were now being discussed in the media. It was a painful and public unraveling. The very qualities that had made him beloved, his warmth, his openness, his empathy, were now being questioned. How could the same person who had made so many people feel seen and valued be accused of such behavior? Jay remained mostly silent. His social media accounts stayed inactive. He made no public appearances. The silence was deafening. Fans who had once praised him now didn't know what to say. Some defended him. Others asked for accountability. All of them wanted answers. But none came. As the case moved forward, Jay's absence from the public eye became permanent. The repair shop continued without him, but it wasn't the same. The energy, the heart that Jay brought, was missing. New craftsmen joined, the work continued, but something had been lost. It was a reminder that even the most beautiful things can be fragile. Even the most trusted people can fall. This story is not easy to tell. It's a story about someone who once brought hope and healing to so many, and who now faces accusations that are hard to understand and even harder to accept. It's about the complexity of people, how someone can be kind in one moment and hurtful in another. It's about the danger of putting anyone on a pedestal and expecting them to be perfect. Jay Blades will be remembered for many things. For the joy and healing he brought through the repair shop. For the lives he touched with his kindness and skill. But also, now, for the pain that was revealed behind the scenes. His story reminds us that everyone has a private life, a side we don't see. And sometimes, those hidden parts can change everything. The fall of Jay Blades is a tragedy not just because of what happened to him, but because of what it meant to all the people who believed in him. It hurt because it felt personal. Because it reminded us that even the gentlest hands can sometimes do harm. The lessons of the repair shop about care, respect, and love are still important. But now, they feel more complicated. Because the man who once taught them is no longer the man we thought he was. Jay Blades' sudden absence from the show wasn't just about missing a couple of episodes. It became a long and unexplained disappearance that left fans confused and concerned. For a show that had become a comfort to many people, it was highly unusual for one of its main stars to be gone without a proper explanation. His social media accounts, once full of positive messages, updates on filming, and creative tips, suddenly went silent. Then came his message to followers saying he was stepping away from social media due to a personal family tragedy, the death of his uncle. Many fans sent him love and support, understanding that grief can take time. But over time, this explanation didn't seem to cover everything. The silence stretched on, and behind that silence, people began to sense something more serious was going on. Speculation began to grow. The BBC quietly pulled some of the older episodes featuring Jay from their streaming services. He was also missing from promotional appearances and upcoming tour events. This wasn't a small break. It was a complete vanishing act, and one that had no real explanation from the network or Jay himself. People who had worked closely with Jay were said to be worried, but they didn't speak publicly. The whole situation became something that was hard to ignore, and still no one had answers. Rumors started floating around that Jay was facing problems at home. There were whispers of tension in his marriage, but these were only rumors. For a man who had built his public image on being warm, gentle, and supportive, the complete silence felt strange. Something was definitely wrong. Eventually, the silence broke, but not in the way fans expected. Jay's wife came forward on social media and announced their separation. It was the first time anything concrete had been said about what was really happening in Jay's life. Fans were shocked. To them, Jay had always been the friendly, calm, and caring face of the show. He was the one who listened carefully to people's emotional stories, showed respect to treasured heirlooms, and led his team with kindness. Suddenly, that image was shattered. People were now seeing another side of someone they thought they knew. Then, more serious news came out. Reports surfaced that Jay was facing legal charges. He was accused of controlling and coercive behavior towards his estranged wife. These weren't just simple personal issues. The claims were that Jay had acted in ways that made his partner fear violence more than once. The media and fans alike were shocked. Jay had spent years being seen as a restorer of broken things, a man who helped heal emotional wounds through his work. Now, his public image was in pieces. The seriousness of the charges could not be ignored. Controlling and coercive behavior is a criminal offense. It includes patterns of manipulation, emotional abuse, and creating fear in someone else. These are not easy or casual accusations. They reflect deep and harmful behavior in personal relationships. As the charges became public, the BBC acted quickly. Jay was removed from the repair shop tour. His episodes began disappearing from streaming services. He was no longer seen at any official events. This was no longer just a personal matter. The network had to protect the reputation of the show. Jay, for his part, pleaded not guilty. He denied the charges and maintained his innocence. His case went to Worcester Crown Court, and legal proceedings began. But even though the outcome was not yet known, the damage to Jay's career had already been done. Whether guilty or not, the presence of such allegations was enough to change how people saw him. Fans were confused. They didn't know whether to believe the man they had admired for so long or to accept the disturbing details being reported in the news. Some said they would wait for the courts to decide. Others said they could never look at him the same way again. Jay's personal life continued to fall apart. His wife Lisa spoke openly about the end of their relationship. What had once been private was now very public. Fans who had looked up to Jay were now heartbroken. Many had seen him as a role model, someone who turned pain into beauty through his work. But now, his story had taken a dark and painful turn. It was no longer just about the show. It had become a lesson in how complex human lives can be. Public figures often seem perfect, but behind the scenes, they struggle like everyone else. In Jay's case, those struggles had serious consequences. The repair shop, meanwhile, had to continue without him. That was not an easy task. Jay had been more than just a presenter. He was the face of the show. His personality was central to its tone and message. Without him, something was clearly missing. But the show had to go on. The BBC and the production team quickly reassured fans that the rest of the cast and crew would continue the work. They reminded viewers that the repair shop was about more than just one person. It was about the craft, the emotion, and the shared experience of fixing what's broken. Other craftspersons who had long been part of the show stepped up. Some had been there from the beginning, quietly doing their work without as much attention. Now they had to carry the show forward. New episodes were filmed, with old and new members of the team sharing the screen. Viewers slowly adjusted. While Jay's absence was felt, the essence of the show remained. People still cried happy tears as their cherished belongings were repaired. The show's heart continued to beat, even if it had been bruised. Behind the scenes, it wasn't easy. The producers had to be careful with what they said. Legal issues meant that they couldn't talk openly about Jay's case. They had to find a balance between acknowledging what had happened and not influencing the legal process. It was a tightrope walk. Industry experts pointed out that when a show is built on ideas like trust, honesty, and healing, any scandal threatens its entire foundation. But the repair shop had something strong going for it, its purpose. The purpose of the show was always bigger than one person. And that's what helped it survive. Jay's future remains unclear. If he is found guilty, he could face up to 5 years in prison. That would mean not just the end of his career, but also serious consequences for his personal life. If he is found not guilty, he still faces a long journey to regain public trust. In situations like this, reputation can be damaged beyond repair. Even if the law clears a person, public opinion is not so easy to shift. People remember what they heard in the news. They hold on to the first impression. For someone like Jay, who was once seen as a beacon of hope, it's hard to come back from something so damaging. Many fans are still trying to process everything. Some say they'll always remember Jay for the good he did on the show. Others say they can't support someone facing such accusations. Online discussions are full of mixed feelings. Some fans share their favorite memories, hoping to keep the good parts alive. Others say it's time to move on. A few hope for his return someday, if he is found innocent. But the reality is that even if he returns, things will never be the same. This whole situation has opened up larger conversations. People are talking about how public figures are not always what they seem. It's easy to believe that someone on TV is the same in real life. But this case shows how little the public really knows. It also reminds us that everyone, even those who seem successful and happy, can be facing deep personal battles. The more we learn, the more we understand how important it is to address these issues before they turn into something much worse. The repair shop will go on. It may change. It may take time to recover. But it will survive. Its core message remains powerful. The idea that things, and people, can be restored is something that still touches hearts. And as new stories are told and new items are brought in for repair, the show will find its way forward. Even without Jay, the spirit of what he helped build can continue. For now, the barn in West Sussex is still filled with hope, with skilled hands and caring hearts working to bring broken pieces back to life. And that, in the end, is what the repair shop has always been about. As the legal proceedings continue, the story of Jay Blades is a cautionary tale. It's about how fast things can change. How someone can go from beloved to questioned almost overnight. It shows the weight of personal choices and the difficulty of living in the public eye. For fans, it's a story of shock and sadness. For the industry, it's a reminder of how fragile careers can be. And for Jay, it's a turning point that may define the rest of his life. No one knows what will happen next. But what's clear is that nothing will ever be quite the same again. Thanks for watching. Keep it and stay tuned for more interesting episodes. Like and subscribe our channel. Have a good day.